17 January 2023 was my first time in the Eagles Great Debates. Today, October 5th, 2023, my first time in Eagles Great Debates finals. Time flies. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am Aitborj Halima, a first-year baccalaureate student and a member of a team in the Eagles Great Debates. Today, I stand here in front of you with a heart filled with emotions and a brain filled with notions. Emotions of pride and gratitude for what our school is doing to encourage us express ourselves. Emotions that have been accumulated throughout my experiences and trials throughout this amazing journey. A brain filled with several values, such as teamwork, time management, leadership, and public speaking. And the list is long. Dear audience, a debate is not only an intellectual exchange, but also an emotional odyssey. It is a self-discovering journey, the exploration of empathy and humility. It is the beauty of interacting with others and finding a common ground despite all our differences. I actually realized that my experience debating had a huge impact upon my soul. A lot of tears, preparation, hard work, and stress. But trust me, it was all worth it. Today, I hope that some of our students could be motivated to be part of such a great project. I hope and I wish that their experience could be better than mine, since I was not selected in my team for the final. I hope that they could be better than me. Today, I am very happy to be here in front of you guys. I believe that in each one of us, there is a light that is willing to show up until we take the initiative. So be confident, trust yourself, and never let anybody put you down. And don't you ever forget that the Eagles always fly high. Good luck for our debaters, and may the best win. Thank you.
Halima, thank you for sharing your experience with us. Now I would like to invite a certain person who doesn't really need an introduction. Please welcome Adam Bouali.
Good afternoon. Dear friends, fellow Eagles, there will be no ladies and gentlemen today, because today I am not standing here to impress a jury or to win a debate. I am simply here to deliver a message that I believe has some sort of worth and give my humble feedback on the life-changing institution that is the Eagles Great Debate. And regarding this feedback, I believe that because we are so used to what debating is, because we are used to the analysis of complex topics, to delivering countless arguments in style, to simply having the guts to stand on stage and perform, because we are so used to all of these things, we fail to grasp how precious and amazing this opportunity is. And we ought to be thankful. Thankful for all the people who made debating such an easy and accessible feat. Thankful to Mr. Tariq Sareh for organizing this whole league. Thankful to Mr. Yunus Al-Iraqi for introducing the concept of debates after watching an exquisite movie. And thankful to the members of the jury and members of the English department for their hard work. So please give them all a warm round of applause. Because trust me, this is an environment that you won't find anywhere else. And this brings me to my next point. Fellow Eagles, no matter what you will end up in life, no matter what career you will choose to pursue, always recognize your greatness as members of this incredible community. Always recognize that you are destined for more than just brainless execution. Because trust me, I've been around a bit, I've been in the workplace, and I have seen I've seen people older than this, way older than this, unable to communicate properly in any language, let alone English. I have seen teams like these unable to function at all. And worst of all, I've seen adults who greatly influence our society deprived of any sort of critical thinking. That is why I believe that in no time, you will all be the driving force of society, and you will all rise high above all else. And don't be mistaken, I am not promoting mere arrogance. I am promoting pride and confidence in the values you represent and the education you have received. And I firmly believe that at the end of the day, and a wise Irishman said it before me, we are not here to take part. We're here to take over, my friends. Thank you.
Therefore, let's welcome with a round of applause our Common Core students.
The Prime Minister,
Abdelwahab Mokmer,
and now give us a warm welcome for our first year students.
Leader of the Opposition,
Adam Nib. And now, the Deputy Prime Minister,
Lala Hamal Idrissi, and welcome the Deputy Leader of the Opposition,
Hiba Slimani. And now please, the member of the government,
Asil Idrissi, and member of the Opposition,
Radia Mukhtarib. And now the government whip,
Yaqut Mizdawi, and finally the Opposition whip,
Muna Moro.
I would like to remind you, dear debaters, of the rule of the debate. To successive intervention from the same team must under no circumstances take place. The intervention must be done in a correct manner, avoiding any vulgarity and inappropriate sarcasm or other form of disrespect.
And for the audience, it is required to respect the debaters. To do so, please keep calm and respect the room. Only applaud at the end of each intervention in a courteous manner, while avoiding any whistling or yelling. And the use of cell phones is prohibited. Ladies and gentlemen, let this debate be great.
Dear audience, before starting this debate, I'd really like to get a moment of silence for all the victims of this earthquake. Thank you. Dear audience, honorable juries, and dear members of the opposition, today my team and I gladly stand here to defend not only our position, but more precisely our country's, which is as it follows. Morocco's selective approach to accepting international aid offers was a wise decision. First and foremost, let's tackle the definition part. Initially, we have the term selective, which stands for selecting and choosing based on reasonable and logical reasons. Then we have the word aid, which means to provide with what is useful or necessary in achieving a good result. And now, dear audience, let's get to the serious part. At first glance, you might think that being selective and refusing any kind of help from anybody during a catastrophe is just senseless, foolish, even arrogant. But don't you dare underestimate Morocco. And let me tell you why. First of all, experiences. Morocco has already enough experiences with earthquakes. Thus, we already know how to handle this type of crisis. Let's take, for example, Husseima's earthquake in 2004 with the 6.8 magnitude, or Agadir's deadly earthquake in 1960 with the 5.8 magnitude. We gained from both of them a significant amount of experience that we employed in this earthquake. Second of all, organizations. Moroccan organizations have contributed in a major and crucial way during this earthquake. As instance, the High Atlas Foundation provided with food, water, and shelter for the people in need. The Banque Alimentaire also provided with food and money for the victims, and many other organizations. That's why being selective is an actual wise and mature choice, isn't it, dear opponents? Dear audience, let me ask you one question. What are the consequences of selecting and choosing the countries to help Morocco? Well, there is literally no bad consequences of that. In fact, it only has good ones, which are, for example, knowing the capacities and the sufficiency of Morocco with no external help. Avoiding any type of conflicts with other countries, and many, many more, infinitely good results of that. But the one that touched me really deep, and that inspired me a lot, is the solidarity, the love, the chemistry between all the Moroccans. The world have never witnessed anything like that. Morocco was like one soul, one person, one body. Everybody was helping in one way or another. And all of that is due to our mentality from one part and to the wise and mature choice made by our country. If Morocco was not selective and chose all the other countries to help it, we would never see this beautiful and mystical side of our kingdom. That's why being selective is the wise and mature choice. Thank you.
September 8th, our country suffered from a tragedy and has been suffering since. And we were suffering even before. Yet, the approach to battle this suffering was everything but wise. But before going any further, dear attendees, dear members of the jury, may you have one of the greatest mornings. My first duty shall be to explain clearly our position to clear out any confusions, since our opponents already seem to confuse what is wise with what isn't. Morocco's selective approach to accepting international aid offers wasn't a wise decision, which means Morocco only accepting 4 countries wasn't wise. Not selectivity in general. We are not against the selectivity that selects the best options or the selectivity that selects enough options. Unlike Morocco's selective approach that consisted of accepting countries that weren't even the most experienced, and only 4 of them, which was now here near enough, and we'll explain this throughout the debate. But don't get us mistaken. We are not saying that Morocco should have accepted all the international aid offers, but we should have accepted more. I wanted to explain the circumstances of the earthquake, but I don't think there is any need. since each and every one of us felt the ground shaking under their feet. We were all unable to do anything, frozen under the effect of an unknown fear. And just a few hours after the first shock, we started to hear the first numbers. 100, 200, 300, and so on. And at the morning of the same day, 1,000 deaths were officially registered. While countries from all around the world wanted to help us, our dear country decided to say no, and to only accept 4 countries. But the sad thing is that despite the presence of Qatar, the United Kingdom, Spain, and the United Arab Emirates, Moroccan rescuers, even with that help, couldn't do it all, couldn't do enough, because the fact is that the help wasn't enough. We've all heard about those unreached regions around the epicenter, people we forgot about as if they never existed. Let me tell you that if we have accepted more aid, we could have reached them. We could have saved some of them. People, Moroccans died because of this approach, and you there calling it wise? I'd like to see what you'd have to say if those people were your family. Will you say it was wise? It is evident that we didn't fully comprehend the extent of this tragedy until a week later, when we saw the grim statistics. 3,000 lives lost, and 5,634 citizens injured. Now, let's move on to the international stage. It is crucial to emphasize that accepting help from countries should be based solely on providing aid to those in need. Rather than limiting assistance to a select few, we should have welcomed more nations willing to contribute genuinely. Restricting the sources of aid could prolong the suffering of those people. Dear attendee, during these challenging times, let us come together, setting apart political differences, and focus on what truly matters: the lives and safety of our fellow Moroccans. We hope that our leadership will recognize the gravity of this situation and act in the best interest for the people, demonstrating that even in the face of disaster, compassion and humanity must prevail. Thank you.
Before starting, I would like to address the leader of opposition. Sure, people are dying, people are suffering, but how can you be so sure that by accepting other countries' help would be beneficial for us? I mean, let's take Turkey as an instance. Turkey has accepted the help of 105 countries. They have rescued 8,000 with more than 50,000 deaths. On the other hand, Morocco has rescued more than 1,000 with 2,900 deaths, according to Al Jazeera. You do the math, because if we're talking about percentage here, Morocco's plan is way better than Turkey's. Why did Morocco opt for selectivity instead of embracing international aid? What precisely pushed it to opt for this option, for this approach? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure this question has sparked your curiosity. So let's break it down. It seems that the opposition house may have overlooked the obvious, claiming that this plan was anything other than wise. So let me shed some light on the matter. Since the earthquake struck on the night of September 8th, our national television reports have showcased daily rescues, roads cleared within 3 days, even in the most remote regions, and round-the-clock efforts from dedicated rescuers. And that is the result of Morocco's planning, with the help of only 4 nations. The worst damage happened in small towns with roads blocked by rocks. If we had accepted assistance from more countries, the situation could have descended into chaos. Let me clarify. Morocco's Minister of Interior Affairs stated, Moroccan authorities conducted a precise assessment of the needs in the field, not taken. Taking into account that a lack of coordination in such cases would yield counterproductive results. The idea is simple. If you had let in too many rescue teams without a good plan, things would have get worse. And as you can see, the operation was a big success. Lives were not just saved, they were rescued from the brink of despair. Not only that, but Morocco seized this opportunity to demonstrate its presence on the global stage. Now, picture this. While advanced nations like the US may often handle crises independently, however, Morocco's solidarity serves as a remarkable example, not taken, of smaller countries pushing their limits, showcasing its incredible strength that can emerge when a country stands together as one. We've become one nation, one body, and one unwavering force. So I can proudly say that Morocco's selective strategy has been proven not to be only wise, but strategically brilliant. It has showcased our nation's resilience and determination. The kingdom has not just weathered the storm, but has emerged stronger, united, and ever ready to face any challenges that come on its way. Thank you.
In the hush of the aftermath, amid the rubble and the echoes of a nation's pain, a question lingers in the air. A question that speaks to the heart of our humanity, our resilience, and our wisdom. Why did Morocco, in this time of need, choose a troubled path? A path that has ignited this debate, raised eyebrows, and cast a shadow over the response to a devastating earthquake. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today my teammates and I stand in reflection and not in judgment. And as we take off this flight, I invite all passengers to tighten their seatbelts as we are about to visit the very first hours after the tragedy. And as we navigate the turbulence of this debate, I encourage you to gaze out of your left window, where you can witness the sheer chaos and devastation that unfolds instantly after an earthquake. Buildings crumble, roads are blocked, and people are trapped beneath the rubble. The very first 72 hours following a catastrophe, also known as the golden hours. In these moments, every second is a heartbeat, every minute is a lifeline, and every hour is a chance for survival. And to emphasize the urgency of this period, let me share with you a staggering statistic. For every hour of delay in receiving life-saving assistance, the likelihood of survival diminishes by 10%. In simpler terms, a mere 24-hour delay could result in a heart-wrenching 240% increase in the risk to the lives of those affected, according to the AFRC. Pretty shocking, I know, but it doesn't end here. Let's look at the broader picture, one that entails the long-term economic and social repercussions of rejecting international aid. This side of the debate confronts us with the sharp reality. Consider for a moment the sheer magnitude of the economic impact that a major earthquake can impose in a nation. Here we turn to the findings of the World Bank, which reveal that the economic impact of such a catastrophe can be overwhelming. In some instances, it rivals or even surpasses an entire year's GPG. This is not an abstract notion, but a harsh reminder that, yes, taken?
How could accepting help from other countries, like human help, could help your economy grow?
Well, if we accepted help from countries that have experienced such catastrophes, it would have been better. Thank you.
I'm talking on the economic side.
This is not an abstract notion, but a harsh reminder that natural disasters can wipe away years and years of economic progress in a matter of minutes. Rejecting international aid places the burden of funding recovery and reconstruction squarely on our shoulders that are far too weak. There are villages with no roads, people who live in slums, and families that suffer from hunger. And while we are already struggling to fight off these problems, how can you expect us to fight off an even bigger one? This alone compels us to use a big chunk of our resources that are limited enough. And here we're not just talking about dollars and cents, we're talking about the concrete effect on the lives of our citizens. Hospitals are stretched beyond capacity as they have been for decades, and critical infrastructure projects have been put on indefinite holds as funds that were already dry run dusty. This scenario doesn't just paint a bleak economic picture. It paints a society grappling with the consequences of this decision you call wise. But once again, let's not limit our perspective to the immediate aftermath. Today's decision are tomorrow's history. By rejecting international aid, we are recklessly passing on a legacy of financial constraint, limited prospect, and societal instability to our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Dear audience, as we are landing, I think we can now all say that the troubled path wasn't worth the trouble. Or should I say, the sacrificed lives. The decision we made cost us a lot, not just economically, but also humanly. However, we can still make it work. And the first step in that is acknowledging that this decision wasn't wise. Thank you.
First, to answer leader of government, accepting way more aids would have more bad consequences than benefits for our country. I'm proud of my country, giving ourselves value and dignity in front of the others. My country has proven itself. The people have known how to be united. They have known how to deal with this situation in the best way possible. We didn't let our guard down and without bowing to the whims of the enemy. My country was wise. He was offered aids and he had never asked for any. Our real allies were here to help us because they saw that this is a humanitarian crisis and they were here to help the humans, the lives that were lost, and they didn't take advantage of that for political reasons. Let's not forget that aids are a diplomatic tool in the field of international relations. Added on to that Morocco is a sovereign kingdom. We are what we call a nation country. Let me explain. Morocco is a... Yes?
You said that only our real allies help. Are
Yes.
you saying that Tunisia, Saudi Arabia, and all of the other countries that we are close to are not our real allies?
Arabia Saudi helped us. They were here to help us, and they helped us because they are our real allies. They were here to help us in our causes, like the Sahara cause, for example. Same thing for Tunisia. Morocco is a sovereign kingdom. We are dominant of our own will, and we want to fully control it. Accepting some countries with ideas behind the mind wouldn't be a good idea to keep up in our dynasty. We didn't accept neither France, nor the USA, nor Belgium. We helped ourselves with what we have, and we kept our prestige that defines us, that the French president didn't maintain for his own country. Instead, he preferred posting a video on Twitter talking directly to the Moroccan people and using his pity. Why getting your country down like that? I don't think that he wants to help us so bad just to help, right? France always wants to keep their superiority over Morocco. They want to keep their control over us. But Morocco is tired of that. That's why I'm proud of that decision. Moving to the other two countries, why wouldn't we accept neither Belgium nor the USA? For Belgium is to avoid traffic jam in the logistic and in aids. Let's not forget that the most hurt zones are in very hard zones to reach. And for USA, Morocco prefers to keep power over themselves, even though they are allies, but we don't want them to take advantage of that and to become more than just allies. Morocco has known how not to be taken advantage of, following the disastrous event that happened. That's why I'm proud. Thank you.
First of all, members of the government, Saudi help in Morocco is fake news, and second, it's out of topic. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I wish you all very well. Standing in front of you today, I feel the most proud. Proud of myself, proud of my teammates, but mostly I am proud of my country, too. Because I was so delighted to see all the solidarity shown in the light of the disaster and all the efforts that were made to try and save the damages. But here is not the issue. The real issue is, wouldn't it be even better if there was more? More what, you may ask? Well, more help, more rescue teams, more equipment, and not from us, but from other countries, more experienced ones whose help could actually make a difference, in a huge one even. Because, my dear opponents, if you use your logic for just 1 second, you realize that the destruction that occurred in those mountains and villages are going to take years, if not decades, to repair. You know what? Let's count it together. Let's say 6 months to put in place a plan, another 6 months to gather the construction necessities. Now, I don't know, maybe a year? Yes, go ahead.
You said that wouldn't it be better if there was more help?
Yeah.
The help of other countries is gonna be
Based on a lot of things, equipment, rescue teams, some things we don't have. Thank you. Where was I? Yes, those constructions will maybe take years, 5 years, 10 years, God knows what. And I don't know if at least the minimum of 10 years to build things all back up seems wise to you. I don't know. Maybe you're not convinced by logic, but maybe you'll be by imagination. My honorable opponents, I want you to close your eyes and imagine yourselves or your loved ones under the rubble, on the verge of death, screaming for help. Are you there yet? Now let me ask you something. Would you in that moment care about pride? Would you care in that moment about the nationality of the person who's saving you? Yes?
If we get our pride in another part, would we still be called Morocco? Morocco is its pride, it's its prestige. But if we have more helps, this would have more bad consequences then, and we will have the depth towards them. So how would we answer you?
Okay. I'm sorry, but I don't think you're Moroccans right now, because if you think pride goes before lives, then that's your problem. Where was I? Yes, you're not going to care about Morocco making a wise decision in that moment. You're going to care about being saved no matter the nationality of the person who's saving you. You're going to care about more people being saved and not being left out because there's not enough help. With more countries, we could have been there faster. With better logistics, we could have saved them faster. Because, trust me when I say most people died not because of the earthquake, but because of the waiting, the injuries, the lack of food, lack of water, lack of help in general. Yes? Facts. Another thing we didn't think about in this wonderful country of ours is the impact of dead bodies under the rubbish for days on end. Viruses, cholera for example. All of this could have easily been avoided with just a wiser decision and approach. Now I know we Moroccans, we like to be proud. We like to say we don't need any help, and in general, we don't. But not in a time like this. A time we have no experience of, no infrastructure adapted to it. A time we could suffer a great loss. In a time like this, we seek help. We put our egos aside, and we make the right choices, and mostly, we save lives. Thank you.
You said that your source was fact. Well, allow me to doubt your fact, because you talked about the monetary loss of the earthquake, but the places that were destroyed were already poorly built, and maybe rebuilding them wouldn't be so bad. How could we? How could we? I mean, really, what has gotten through our heads? Refusing other countries' help that have never wanted anything but the best for us. After all, Morocco isn't able to do anything on their own without the help of the true developed countries. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the exact summary of the opposition house's position. The only thing I've been hearing since the beginning of this debate is you, not believing in our kingdom's strength. Well, allow me to claim, loud and clear, that Morocco, a country with issues like any other one, is a completely functional state, not a fragile, not a failed, nor failing one. And shame on you for even doubting this. Now, let's get to the thick of it. Why didn't Morocco accept all given helps? Yes?
You said that we are waiting for developed countries to help us. What would you say about the USA accepting help in every opportunity?
Well, the USA can do whatever they please with their country, and unless you forgot about it, Morocco is a sovereignty, so the king is responsible for anything that happens in it. Thank you. Okay, so first of all, Morocco did not refuse help. It simply orchestrated and arranged the help already given to make the most out of it, which, looking at the logistical part of the issue, was a brilliant idea. Let me enlighten you. As our Deputy Prime Minister already stated earlier, the most damage happened was in the smallest regions of the Atlas Mountains, which are already very hard to reach, with roads that are very narrow and grudgy terrains. So rescue teams would have had a lot of trouble to get to this, and sending them immediately would have been practically impossible. No. The help of the Moroccan citizens has already made it much harder for the rescue teams to get there. So how could we refuse our own brothers' help that don't demand anything in exchange, and then you're going to ask for other countries' help that undeniably won't be for free? I won't deny the fact that there have definitely been some issues providing help and rescuing people. but they have mainly been dictated by the nature of the catastrophe in itself. It affected a widely spread population, living in hundreds of villages. So even though the maximum of effort have been put, some issues were simply impassable. So unlike the opposition team has been claiming, this has absolutely nothing to do with the lack of help. So if you have been following what my team and I have been saying, I think you realize by now that your arguments are purely based on misconceptions and exaggerations. But honestly, I don't blame you for it. It simply pities me to see our youth so blinded by the Occidental lens. But worry not, my dear friends, because my teammates and I will always be standing here with our country, proud of its resilience and resourcefulness. Thank you.
First, you ignore our questions, then our arguments. How will accepting more aid save more lives? Well, I'm sorry I have to repeat what my teammates said, but more rescue teams, more medical groups. Then you also said that the 2000 earthquake's magnitude was 6.8. Sorry to correct you, it was 6.3. Get your information right. And also, I wish that was the only thing you got wrong. But you also said that the USA handles things independently. We'll see about that. And also, we were not held by only 4 countries, but 6. Thank you, Tunisia and the Saudi Arabia. The only lies for which we are truly punished are those we tell ourselves. V.S. Naipaul, one of the most famous quotes to have ever been heard, and what I wish today to be one of the most blatant lies I'll ever have to hear, because otherwise that would mean that lots of our compatriots are condemned. September 13th, our country's approach to accepting aid was revealed. Since then, Morocco has been divided into 2 conflicted parties, those lying to themselves and those who knew that that decision wasn't wise. But then, what exactly is wise? 1906, a devastating earthquake with a magnitude of around 7.9 struck San Francisco. The United States, that know well enough about that matter, knew all too well what to do, which wasn't accepting aid from only 4 countries. In fact, the USA accepted aid from most of the countries that offered, namely Canada, the United Kingdom, their ex-colonizer, Russia, Japan, and China, even though they had a huge tension with China, after both countries failed to come to an agreement.
POI.
Yes?
Whenever France has given their help to a country in need, they have always wanted monetary or just simply took themselves out of it. What makes you think that with Morocco it would be any different?
I am not talking about France right now, but I will talk about it later in my intervention, if you could just wait. American boycotts in China who almost led to a war, yet the Americans wholeheartedly accepted the much needed resourceful aid, since to them, pride would never be worth sacrificing American lives or wasting Americans' time. In this case, I don't see how America's approach could have been wiser, but I can see multiple ways Morocco's could have been. For context, Morocco's selective approach consists of ignoring 60 countries out of 64, such as the USA, France, Brazil, Germany, Italy, and the list goes on. While ignoring France was the right thing to do, not because of the conflicted past, but because of their lack of resources and the poor quality of help they have offered us in the past, was ignoring the others? Well, no, and I'll tell you why. First, the United States, commonly known as the world's sole superpower, have successfully handled all their earthquakes. Yet we declined their precious offer, which means squandering the resources we could have gained, the money we could have saved, the experience we could have acquired, the lives we could have protected. For what? Showing that we could handle this ourselves? That we did not need the best help we could get? I mean, after all, why would we? It's not like our people were dying or our villages that were in shambles. Same goes for Italy, with one of the largest history of earthquakes that experienced more than 260 earthquakes with a magnitude equal to or greater than 5.5. But that obviously isn't a match for the Emirates 0. And of course, the case stands still for the other 58 countries, like Israel, with barely any economical prestige or Moroccan citizens. Now, before drawing things to a close, I'd like to talk about a value I hold dear, a value that made the greatest heroes and the worst tyrants, that made Martin Luther King write his letter from Birmingham jail and made fascists rise to power, that made Nelson Mandela burn jail for 27 years and made Hitler start the biggest war the world has ever known. That value is patriotism, love of country. But just so it be clear, I don't think patriotism consists only of becoming a soldier. I think it also consists of loving your country flaws and all, not lying to yourself and pretending every decision we make is wise when it isn't, and it doesn't need to be in order for us to love our country, because patriotism runs in our blood, and it's written in 3 words: God, homeland, and king. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to answer the whole opposition team. By you, I'm just going to sum it up. You're saying that if we get more help, more people are going to get rescued, right? Why isn't it the case for Turkey then? Too many cooks spoil the soup, says the English proverb. Doesn't that sound familiar to you, dear opponents? Oh, my bad. Because you are accepting help from all other countries without any specified criteria. Yes, without any specified criteria. It could be an enemy, an ally, it doesn't matter to you. You just want to blindly get help because it could get you. Wouldn't that just create more chaos and disorder? And please, if you had the responsibility of a whole country upon your shoulders, you're going to think 1,000 times before choosing which country to help. Thank you.
In times of crisis, enemies become friends. There is no more enemies when it comes to help. Now, dear opponents, I've spent around 15 minutes since I left this latrine listening to you. The conclusion, you obviously hear us, but you don't listen to us. Today, I stand before you as a messenger, not as the author of these words. Why turn away the helping hand when we needed it the most? These words come from Fatima, a young mom who's now single, who's suffering from the aftermath of the earthquake. Terrible decision, she said. Fatima does not only speak for herself, but for 1,000 of people like her. So, who are you now to call it wise when the concerned people call it a senseless decision? Well, let these voices remind us that in times of disaster, it is through solidarity that we rebuild lives and communities. Thank you.
To answer the deputy leader of opposition, you mentioned that we have to accept help from advanced country. Let's take as example France. They have a good economy. According to The Guardian, they once supported 60 African countries and suddenly stopped, citing reasons like COP21 and some domestic political issues. And for the opposition whip, you mentioned USA. USA has been supporting Iraq, but also suddenly stopped. Look at the Iraq situation now. Its people are suffering. They're living with uncertainty due to the absence of that support. So, dear audience, I would say that when given a chance, they can and they will always take advantage.
We never said that we should follow Turkey's approach. We said that we should have accepted countries that were familiar with such catastrophes, since they could have provided better help. And as you know, lessons from history are clear. So let's take North Korea, Haiti, and Thailand as example. After suffering big tsunamis and earthquakes in the early 2000s, they followed a similar approach to Morocco's, and sadly they are still suffering from them. And as much as I would love to give you many examples, my time is running out, so I'll let the rest of my teammates answer the other questions. Thank you.
More help, as you say, would mean more debts to pay later to these countries. And in any other way, stop being pathetic. Think with your mind instead of your heart. Why would we accept Spain then, and the other ones, knowing very well that Spain occupied our territory? Spain's and Morocco's relations are consolidating in all domains, but most importantly, after the decision of Madrid on the 7th of April 2022 to support Morocco's autonomy for the Sahara cause. UAE and Saudi Arabia are very good good allies too. For example, the free trade argument between Morocco and UAE, adding to that both their big support for the Sahara cause. To sum it up, my country has a pride it would never take down in any situation, which give us our prestige. Dear opponents, you can still keep talking about how harsh the situation was, that we needed more help, that we didn't access France just because of lack of resources, knowing very well our antecedents with them and France putting their dignity aside just to help us. We still did our best to deal with it. Us, the people, the country, and it's worked. We didn't give up and we never will. We don't need charity and we need solidarity. Thank you so much.
So first thing, member of the government, you said we're gonna have debts to pay later. Like you said, later. Now is all that matters. Lives are on the verge of death. We're not going to think about later. Dear audience, to mark the end of this journey, I want to present my sincere condolences to everyone that lost someone in this disaster, because really, they should be all that matters. They suffered a loss that goes beyond any political image or issue, and that can't be repaired or replaced. And it makes me truly sad to see people, Moroccans, still thinking that there's some things or things that go beyond and go before lives, like pride and prestige. Thank you.
First, to the member of the opposition, not thinking about later is the worst mistake you can make in life, in politics, and especially in moments like this. Let's cut straight to the chase. Morocco's response to the earthquake has, clearly, ruffled some feathers. Critics playing the white savior card as if Western countries were the only one equipped to deal with such situations. This idea is not only outdated, but is extremely disrespectful to the principle of our country. While it is appropriate for other countries to offer their help, it is not a God-given right to be able to assist, but a privilege, with Morocco in the best position to determine what is required. Plus, with no offense, of course, I wouldn't expect anything from a country not even able to get rid of bed bugs.
About USA supporting Iraq, I don't even need to answer you. Your classmate did. Thank you. See, not all stories have the same ending, like Spain and Morocco. About Turkey, Turkey accepted too much help. We didn't accept enough. So your point is meaningless. Now we've made it clear that this decision wasn't wise. But will it ever be? Let's imagine that, God forbid, something worse were to happen to our land, like a huge tsunami, a more devastating earthquake, or just any disaster that would cause our country to be in bigger distress. Would the 60 countries that were ignored today incline to offer help? Obviously not. This is the nightmare-like scenario we are risking. And if you think that this would never happen, then you learned nothing from the earthquake. Because if we learned anything, it's that tomorrow isn't promised, worse, isn't predictable. Also, we're risking more, not just a light nightmare scenario, we're also risking our image. Morocco has always been and should always be known for having allies all around the world, not just Europe or the Middle East like we showed when accepting aid. So is it really wise to not act like it? Thank you.